Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series Accidentally Adopted. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Part 5, Chapter 1. Journal entry 37. Date 175. Name Greg George. Okay, so the space bacon has increased. I think Mom is trying to cheer me up. I mean, it's not working. I won't say no to delicious space bacon. What I want is some goddamn whiskey. Feck's sakes. These blue boys get fecking drunk on tea, like a bunch of fecking teetopians, or Britbongers. Or some chocolate. I wish I knew more about chemistry. The only fecking reason I even knew the caffeine is in the tea is because I recognized its effect on me. If I knew how to draw the molecules of hooch, maybe I could help my family figure this crap out. Pretty sure the lack of Xeno's cocoa beans leaves me SOL on the chocolate front. Feck! I want chocolate. In other news, the Hands and Lucy are moving ahead with my merch. There's a 5% cut fair. I mean, it's my likeness and crap, but it's not like I'm doing any work. Then again, it would be funny if they caught on, so I'll definitely help promote that crap. As Master of Arms, the state of the armory is my responsibility, and I have to say, it's pretty pathetic. These plasma casters wouldn't penetrate a standard boarding power armor's battle screens, let alone dent its heat dispersal systems. Speaking of armor, we have feck all. The vac suits are even fecking soft-sided, leaving alone the fact that you want to tank your Atmo during a fight to avoid the possibility of explosive venting. So fighting in vac suits is fecking standard. What if you have to go to a spacewalking to repair something and get hit by debris? You're fecked in the soft-sided crap. Automatic naval shotguns aren't really an option, and there isn't really anything available that I would call equivalent. I can get some Magak flechettes to add a little kinetic to our arsenal, but they are semi-auto and vulnerable to EMP strikes. Finding anything that's chemical propellant at all is proving to be extremely frustrating. I really don't like having the gaping hole in our defenses. Speaking of holes, the armor. I brought it up with Pops, and he admitted that he's always ignored armor because he's always been uninterested in sailing anywhere remotely dangerous. Well, the White Sea is all about you. You can fence yourself in, but you cannot fence it out. I felt kind of bad for being critical of his armory, but my job is to make sure that we Sing can defend herself. And now we're planning on going to Space Tortuga. We're going over to that Justicar to request some combat vac armor. I want the bridge crew and the shipboard response team capable of acting even in the event of losing Atmo. Time to start drilling the kiddos for lockdowns. Maybe I can disguise it as a game. Speaking of kiddos, I had a decent chat with Sarge. He gets why I was so harsh with him and apologized for not thinking more clearly. Kid has a good heart and will be a good leader one day. One day, but not today, Sarge. Enjoy being a teenager for now, and don't worry about grown-ups just yet. Then I told the crew how I wound up in that animal shelter. Not a pleasant story to tell, but not so harrowing as the grubs. Feck the grubs. Dear Diary, we're getting ready to set sail. With a bit more complicated since all 12 of the stops we plan on making are completely different markets than Mom's used to. She's been sinking her teeth into the social medias of the destinations, though, and is slowly filling our hold with a few local products that'll be in demand there. Well, I have a product that's going to be in demand everywhere. I will soon anyway, and Daddy said that we could use one of the cargo bays for the manufacturing base. And we'll still have enough money in our pool to get some textiles and stuffing material. I hope that we don't waste too much of it getting the settings right. I think that Greg is actually pleased with the idea of a cuddly toy of himself. He's got a soft spot for making kids happy, after all. He told us the last important part about his past. I guess that means that he has lots of little stories he could tell, but this was the answer to the question we politely held back from asking, since he showed that he's a person. Such as how he wound up in that kennel, and what happened to him in the fighting pit. I mean, we had the police reports, but that's just some of the cops thought about what they saw and some recordings of the fights taken from the poachers' databanks. But how he tells it, well, we have 20 days. There are some things I want to talk about with him, if he doesn't mind. Log 6,001.1.02. Personal, Captain Yormdrill. Gregory had some criticisms of the armory. I knew he would, but it is still discordant to listen to him talk about combat effectiveness of various weapons. It's a dissonance between how lethal and how cute he is. Apparently, his people believe in redundancies in weapon systems, such that they still use chemical propellant weapons. This means they either have electromagnetic pulse weapons or an extraordinarily paranoid. In any case, he spent most of the day putting together a requisition for some more weapons and wants to see about getting some armor from the Justicar. Well, that might be an interesting encounter to watch, so I've reached out to her to see if anybody is willing to meet us over the issue. The Lord Justicar himself wants to have tea. Oh, this is going to be funny. He said that he owed us some more answers and asked Trevdy to gather who she thinks can hear the story and settled into a chair to tell the story. Well, this bit is, it is what it is. You've heard me mention Sanctuary before, and all of you have very politely avoided questioning me over it. But I'll explain anyway. Sanctuary is one of 2 rest and recreation planets. The army one is called Respite. Anyway, Sanctuary is set aside. It has a low tank level, very little dangerous fauna, a nice temperate to tropical climate, and low population. Importantly, it has no spaceport or station, and the only way onto the planet is supposed to be to ride a shuttle down from the Navy ship. This is to keep the planet low stress, but activity tends to help us relax and recharge for redeployment. In my case, I was ordered there for mental health treatment. I did not take the breakup of the Lost Boys very well. As I've said before, there were good people in the Navy who wanted to help me do what I wanted, though, like Dr. Johann. Even still, I was not very good at relaxing, so I got ordered back to Sanctuary after a few missions to work on that. It wasn't great that I get stuck on a planet for weeks at a time, stuck on a planet and not even working, but I didn't want to accept a medical discharge. That's when they declare you medically unfit for duty. Anyways, one of the things that I was working on was incorporating my skills into peaceful activities, some recreational survival skills. Kind of full circle on that one. But I always like going into the wilderness, exploring, seeing beauty. So in order to help me get out of work mode and into more, normal mode, was to go on hikes, to just go camping. The trick was to not be, sneaky about it. I'll never not move quietly, but I did finally start camping in a nice open area without carefully concealing my presence and equipment if I had any. It was a beautiful night, warm, clear, no sign of bad weather. I decided to forego the tent. Oh, that's a portable shelter. I just spread out my bedroll and was gazing at the stars, thinking about whether I'd be sent to protect some brothers soon. I woke up in a pit. It was big enough for me to stride twice along each wall, and the room was out of my reach. I could sort of try to shimmy up a corner, except for the shock collar. The scorching shock collar. It shocked me if I was too fast, if I was too slow, if I made a noise, if I refused to eat, if the googly-eyed void sucker felt like I needed a shock. When it was time for me to beat some poor creature to death, they'd just turn it on full blast until I was convulsing on the floor, shoved me into a cage, and then came the needle. I don't know what they injected me with, but whatever it was, it wiped all thought from my mind and made it feel like there was fire under my skin. I was completely out of control. I think that it must be how the grub victim feels. I was screaming. Once I beat some innocent animal to death, then it was a tranquilizer. Then they strapped me to a machine, I don't know the word, but I think it was a blood filter. Whatever it was, it hurt. My memory is a bit spotty, but eventually it was the people who go clickety-clack. Then you brought me home. So, that's how I got here. Thanks for taking me in. End of chapter. I would just like to thank the T5 supporters: Bushmaster117, Casper Arnholtz, Dragzoon W.R.E, Elijah Silvercross, Gray, Jon Creighton, and Sevaren Serberous. Thank you very much.